Hello friends. Welcome to ZUBE Stories, where every story hides a little secret just waiting for you. Are you ready for a ride? Settle in, watch gracefully, and let the magic unfold. Don't forget to subscribe and share, because some stories are too good to keep to yourself. The early morning sun slipped through thin curtains, casting golden streaks across the modest kitchen floor. Claire Bennett moved quietly, careful not to wake anyone. Her hands worked automatically, grinding fresh coffee beans, cracking eggs into the pan, slicing fruit. It was the same routine she had done every morning for years. She glanced at the clock, 5:45 a.m. The house was silent, except for the faint ticking of the old wall clock and the soft hum of the refrigerator. A small smile tugged at Claire's lips. For now, this was her favorite time of the day, not because she loved cooking, but because this was the only moment she felt in control. "Mom." A sleepy voice broke her thoughts. Their daughter, MIA, stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. At 7, MIA had her father's sandy hair but Claire's deep green eyes. "Good morning, sweetheart." Claire set down her spatula and bent to kiss her daughter's head. "You're up early." "I smelled pancakes." MIA grinned. "Are we having the special ones?" Claire chuckled. "Of course. Chocolate chip, just like you like." MIA giggled and climbed onto the kitchen island stool. "Dad hates these." A shadow flickered across Claire's expression. "Yeah, but we love them, don't we?" she whispered, forcing a bright smile. Before MIA could answer, heavy footsteps echoed down the stairs. Claire stiffened instinctively. Ryan Bennett, tall, broad, and freshly showered, entered the kitchen with an air of importance he wore like a tailored suit. "Morning." His voice was gruff as he grabbed a cup of coffee. "Good morning," Claire murmured. Ryan's eyes scanned the table. "Chocolate chip pancakes again? You know I don't like those, Claire." "It's for MIA," she replied evenly. Ryan grunted. "Of course. Princess MIA gets whatever she wants." He forced a smile at his daughter, ruffling her hair half-heartedly. Then his gaze landed back on Claire, hard and cold. "You know, you should stop spoiling her. It'll bite us later." Claire bit her tongue. She wanted to say, "Let her have this. Let me have this." But instead, she simply nodded. Ryan sat down, flipping open his phone, scrolling through his emails. "I've got a big pitch today," he announced. "Real money on the line. You wouldn't understand." Claire's fingers curled around the spatula. "Of course not," she thought bitterly. "How could I? I'm just the wife, the house mouse who doesn't understand money." "I hope it goes well," she said softly. Ryan shrugged. "It will. Unlike what do you call it? That cupcake thing you waste time on." Mia's eyes widened. "Mom makes the best cupcakes. You should try." "I don't eat sugar, MIA, Ryan snapped. "You know that." Claire's jaw tightened. "It's not just a hobby," she muttered. "I'm actually working on a what?" Ryan laughed, shaking his head. "Claire, please. You think baking cupcakes is a business? It's a side project at best. A waste of time, really. Nobody makes real money kneading dough and sprinkling sugar." Claire turned away, blinking back the sting in her eyes. "You'd be surprised," she whispered. "What was that?" Ryan asked sharply. After breakfast, Claire packed Mia's lunch, brushed off Ryan's sharp words, and waved goodbye as they both left, Ryan in his expensive sedan, MIA hopping onto the school bus. Finally alone, Claire let out a shaky breath. She walked back into the kitchen, stared at the cold coffee she hadn't touched, and sat heavily at the table. "Not just a hobby," she whispered to the empty room. She reached for her phone and pulled up her secret Instagram account, The Whisk Dream. There, dozens of pictures of cupcakes, cakes, cookies, and pies stared back at her, each one perfectly shot in soft lighting, each caption filled with careful wit and love. Comments flooded the latest post. "Do you take orders? This is amazing. Do you deliver? OMG, I need this for my son's birthday." Claire smiled, genuinely smiled, for the first time that morning. She wasn't just a housewife. Not anymore. Claire spent the next few hours baking. It was her therapy and rebellion rolled into one. With each swirl of buttercream frosting and every sprinkle of chocolate shavings, she felt a flicker of power. Her phone buzzed. Another notification from her secret business page. Hi, I was wondering if you could handle dessert for my daughter's birthday this Saturday. I heard your cupcakes are incredible. Budget's good, just want it special. Rachel Mayers, PTA President. Claire's breath caught. The Rachel Mayers, the woman who ruled the PTA like a queen. If she liked Claire's cupcakes, the whole town would know. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. Absolutely. I'd be honored. I'll send you ideas by this evening. This was it, the start of something real. Meanwhile, across town, Ryan's big pitch was unraveling. His client, a notoriously tough investor, stared blankly as Ryan stumbled through his sales jargon. So, let me get this straight, the man finally said. You want me to invest 6 figures based on projections, not results. Ryan forced a smile. We're confident the results will come. The investor snorted. Confidence doesn't pay returns, Bennett. Call me when you have numbers. Ryan walked out of the office, sweat slicking his back. He had no numbers, just promises. He gritted his teeth, already hearing Claire's, "I hope it goes well," echoing in his head. By dinner, the house felt like a minefield. Claire, practically glowing from the order, tried to keep things light. "How was your pitch?" she asked softly. Ryan growled. "Fine." Claire hesitated. I got my first big order today. From Rachel Mayers." Ryan looked up sharply. "Rachel Mayers?" Claire nodded. "Yeah, for her daughter's party." Ryan scoffed. "Well, don't screw it up. If she's ordering, it's because she pities you. Women like that, they just want to feel better about themselves." Claire blinked. "I don't think so." "Oh, please." Ryan waved a dismissive hand. "Claire, I handle real clients. People who sign contracts, not play with sprinkles. Don't get carried away." MIA, sensing the tension, stared down at her plate. Claire's fists clenched under the table. One day, she thought. One day, you'll regret every word. That night, Claire stayed up late sketching cupcake designs, scrolling through baking supply websites, planning. She pulled out a hidden notebook labeled Sweet Haven, Future Bakery Plans. The first page read, "They all laughed at the woman who stayed home until she built an empire." Tears stung her eyes, but she wiped them away. She was done waiting for permission to dream. If Ryan couldn't see it, fine. She'd show the world. And when the day came, when she finally opened the doors to Sweet Haven, Ryan would either eat his words or choke on them. The email replayed in Claire's mind as she wiped the kitchen counter. Her heart beat faster every time she thought of it. Rachel Mayers, the queen bee herself, had reached out. Claire knew what this meant in their neighborhood. If Rachel liked your product, word spread like wildfire. She pulled out her notebook, the one she had under Mia's old school drawings, and flipped to the first blank page. Order, Rachel Mayers, Unicorn Dream Theme. Quantity, 48 gourmet cupcakes. Design, hand-painted pastel rainbows, edible gold dust, custom fondant toppers. She chewed the end of her pen. "This is big, Claire. Really big. You can't screw this up." Suddenly, the garage door rumbled. Ryan was home, early. Claire's stomach sank. She quickly shoved the notebook back under the pile, wiped her hands, and plastered on a smile. Ryan stumped into the kitchen, shoulders tight, jaw clenched. "Where's dinner?" he barked. Claire blinked. It's almost ready. Everything okay?" Ryan threw his briefcase on the table, making MIA flinch where she was coloring. "No, nothing's okay. The pitch fell through. Those assholes laughed me out of the building." Claire's mouth opened, then closed. There it is, the beginning of his unraveling. "I'm sorry," she managed. Ryan scoffed. "Sorry? Sorry won't pay the mortgage, Claire. Sorry won't fix this." She took a steadying breath. "I got a new order today. A big one." Ryan sneered. "For what? More frosting and sprinkles?" Claire stiffened. "Yes, for Rachel Mayers." That made him pause. "Rachel? That Rachel?" Claire nodded. "She wants custom cupcakes. Big order. Pays well." Ryan stared at her like she'd grown another head. "She's humoring you." "No, Ryan. She's not." Claire's voice was firmer this time. She saw my work online. She liked it. Ryan's laugh was humorless. I bust my ass, and you get orders because some housewife pities you. Claire's stomach churned. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Claire. Ryan stood abruptly. Don't get your hopes up. People like Rachel, they use people like you for fun. You'll see. MIA whispered, Mom's cupcakes are the best. Ryan shot his daughter a look that made Claire's blood boil. Finish your coloring, MIA. That night, Claire sat at the kitchen table, lit only by a single lamp. Her laptop glowed with bakery supply websites, edible glitter, premium fondant, custom packaging. She ran the numbers. After costs, she'd cleared nearly $400. $400 for one order. That was half of what Ryan used to sneer at when he called her hobby cute. Her hands shook. This is real. This could change everything. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine it. A storefront, her logo on the glass, MIA running around the kitchen, the smell of fresh cupcakes filling the air. Sweet Haven, a bakery by Claire Bennett. Claire's eyes burned. No more begging for respect. No more apologies. Meanwhile, Ryan sat in his car, parked outside the darkened house, staring blankly at his steering wheel. He'd lied. It wasn't just that the pitch failed. His job, his six-figure job, was hanging by a thread. Another failure like today, and he was gone. His fingers drummed the wheel. Claire couldn't know. He couldn't lose his grip. Not now, not when everything felt like it was slipping. He scoffed bitterly. Rachel May is ordering from Claire? What a joke. Women like that didn't care about cupcakes. They cared about power plays. Still, that number, $400, stuck in his mind. Ryan clenched his jaw. She won't out-earn me. She won't. The week passed in uneasy silence. Claire, usually eager to share small wins, stayed quiet, head down, working. Ryan watched from the sidelines, resenting the way MIA smiled more around her mother now. Claire was glowing. He hated it. Saturday arrived, and Claire's kitchen became a magical battlefield. Edible glitter floating through the air, delicate sugar unicorns drying on parchment paper. The house smelled like heaven. Ryan paced. Rachel arrived right on time, driving her luxury SUV. She stepped out in heels, sunglasses perched on her head. Claire wiped her hands nervously. Hi, Rachel. Rachel smiled, genuine, warm. Claire, these are, wow. Ryan hovered in the doorway, watching. Rachel leaned closer. You know, if these taste half as good as they look, I might have to put you on retainer. Claire blinked. Retainer. Rachel laughed. Honey, parties never stop around here. If you're game, I'll send business your way. Ryan's face paled. Claire found her voice. I'd love that. Rachel handed her an envelope. Payment, plus a little extra. For the rush. Claire's hands shook as she took it. Rachel winked. You're going to be big, Claire. Ryan turned away, his stomach knotting. That night, Claire counted the money, $600 in cash. Ryan sat in the living room, beer in hand, staring at the TV but not watching. Claire appeared in the doorway. She loved them. Ryan didn't respond. Claire's chin lifted. Rachel said, I'm going to be big. Ryan's jaw ticked. Don't let it get to your head. Claire stared at him for a long moment, then smiled. Slow, dangerous. Oh, it's not in my head, Ryan. It's already happening. For the first time, Ryan felt it, a cold dread creeping up his spine. Claire wasn't going to stay small. Sunday morning came with an unfamiliar stillness in the house. Claire woke early, but instead of the usual weight in her chest, she felt lighter. The sight of that $600 envelope on her dresser last night still felt surreal. She'd held it for hours, running her fingers over the crisp bills like it was proof she wasn't invisible anymore. Meanwhile, Ryan barely slept. He lay awake most of the night, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. The way Rachel Mayers praised Claire, the envelope, the handshake, it all gnawed at him. That wasn't supposed to happen. Not to Claire. Not in his house. Claire poured herself a fresh cup of coffee, humming softly, a tune Ryan didn't recognize. That annoyed him more than he'd admit. What's got you so chipper? Ryan muttered, joining her. Claire's eyes flicked up, guarded. Just feeling good. Ryan snorted. Must be nice. Some of us have real problems. Claire blinked. I have problems too, Ryan. Sure, he sneered. Sprinkles running out. Oven too small. Claire's lips tightened, but she didn't rise to the bait. You know, Ryan, just because it's not your dream doesn't mean it's not real. He scoffed. Real dreams pay the mortgage. Claire set down her cup, staring at him steadily. Maybe mine will. Ryan's jaw ticked. Don't push it, Claire. As Ryan stewed in the kitchen, Claire's phone buzzed. Another message on her business line. She hesitated, glanced at Ryan, then read it. Hi Claire, it's Jenna from the cafe downtown. Rachel told me about your cupcakes. We're looking for a local baker, regular orders. Can we talk? Claire's breath caught. Regular orders? A contract. She swallowed hard, her hands trembling. She couldn't tell Ryan. Not yet. She typed back, yes. I'd love to meet. Later that afternoon, Ryan called his friend Mark, desperate. Man, you got anything at your company? Anything? Ryan's voice was tight, edged with desperation. Dude, we're downsizing, Mark sighed. I'm hanging by a thread myself. Ryan's heart dropped. Come on, man. I've got a mortgage, Mia's school. I can't lose it all. Mark was quiet. I'll ask around, but you might want to start thinking about cutting costs, bro. Ryan hung up, sweating. Cut costs? What costs? The house? Mia's school? His gaze fell on Claire, smiling softly at her phone. The rage hit him like a wave. No, she doesn't get to win while I lose. I'm the man. I built this life. Monday morning, Claire dropped MIA off and drove downtown, heart pounding, to meet Jenna at the cafe. Jenna was warm, professional. Rachel sang your praises. I tried one. Incredible. Claire smiled nervously. Thank you. Jenna leaned forward. Look, I need someone weekly. 40 cupcakes, maybe more during events. You up for it? Claire blinked. You're serious? Dead serious. I pay on delivery, $500 a week. Claire's world tilted. $2,000 a month. She nodded. Yes, I'm in. Driving home, Claire's mind raced. She could do this. She'd need better equipment, supplies, but it was possible. One thing was clear. She couldn't tell Ryan. Not yet. He'd destroy it. Mock it. Try to control it. Claire smiled bitterly. Let him think it's still just a hobby. That night, Ryan was unusually quiet. Claire watched him, her heart sinking. He was unraveling, and part of her still cared, still remembered the man he used to be. I met with the PTA moms today, Claire lied smoothly. Nothing major. Ryan grunted. Mia's tuition's due next month. I know, Claire said softly. You got any of that cupcake money left? Claire hesitated. A little. Ryan smirked. See? It's cute, but it won't save us. Claire forced a smile. Maybe not yet. By Friday, Claire delivered her first cafe order, trembling the whole way. Jenna was thrilled. Go, these will sell out by lunch. Claire smiled. Thank you. As she walked back to her car, the sun felt warmer, the sky brighter. She had made this. She had built this. And no one could take it from her now. That night, Ryan drank, heavily. The house smelled like buttercream and vanilla, and it made him sick. You think you're better than me now? Who? He slurred. Claire blinked. What? Walking around, all smug. Like you're some CEO. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, Ryan snapped. You'll see, Claire. All of this, it's nothing without me. Claire's eyes burned. We'll see, Ryan. We'll see. The weekend brought no peace. Ryan barely looked at Claire, drinking more than usual, retreating into his growing bitterness. Claire, meanwhile, worked silently, baking, planning, dreaming. Sunday evening, as MIA sat reading, Claire stood outside watching the sunset, clutching her cafe payment, $500 cash. Her eyes shimmered with quiet defiance. For the first time, She wasn't scared. "Mom." MIA called softly. "You okay?" Claire turned, smiling. "Yeah, baby. I'm more than okay." Inside, Ryan watched them through the window, the easy bond, the quiet joy. And something broke. He was losing. And for the first time, Claire understood. Some battles are won in silence, one cupcake at a time. And Ryan? He wouldn't see her coming until it was too late. The first night without Ryan was peaceful. Claire didn't expect that. She thought she'd cry, or at least feel the familiar ache of loneliness. Instead, she sat on the couch with MIA curled up beside her, watching cartoons and eating popcorn for dinner. "Is Daddy mad?" MIA asked quietly. Claire smoothed her daughter's hair. "Daddy's just figuring himself out." MIA nodded solemnly, then whispered, "I like it better when it's just us." Claire's heart broke a little, but also healed. By the weekend, Jenna sent a message that felt like a dream. "Jenna, Claire, got a contact. Big corporate event next month. 200 cupcakes. You in?" Claire's hands shook. 200. At $5 each, that was $1,000. Her reply was instant. "I'm in." She paced the kitchen, heart racing. She needed help, not Ryan, never him, but real help. She called Rachel. "Hey, remember when you said to call if I needed anything?" Claire asked, breathless. Rachel laughed. "Name it." "I need a kitchen. A bigger one." Rachel grinned. "You're ready." Meanwhile, Ryan sat at Mark's place, drunk, staring at his phone. No call from Claire. Not even a text. Mark tried to joke. "Maybe you scared her straight, bro." Ryan forced a laugh, but his gut twisted. What if she didn't care? In a last-ditch effort, he called Claire. She let it ring. Ryan stared at the screen, rage simmering. "She's not supposed to ignore me." Rachel pulled strings, and by Monday, Claire had secured a spot in a shared commercial kitchen. Claire stood in the bright, stainless steel space, tears in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." Rachel shrugged. "Thank me when you're too famous to return my calls." They both laughed, but Claire knew she wasn't turning back. This was real. 3 days later, Ryan came home. No warning. No apology. Claire was in the kitchen, humming, frosting cupcakes for the corporate order. Ryan stared, stunned. What is all this?" Claire didn't stop working. "Work." His jaw clenched. I lost my job." Claire froze. "What?" "Yeah," he snapped. "Happy now?" Big man Ryan couldn't hack it. Claire stared at him. "I'm sorry." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Don't be. You're winning, right? Little Miss Cupcake Queen." Claire's voice was cold. "I don't want to win, Ryan. I just want to live." Ryan's pride shattered. "Fine. You win. But you'll need me. You'll see." Claire shook her head. "I don't think so." He sneered. "You think these cupcakes will save you?" Claire met his gaze, steady. "No, Ryan. I'll save me." The following week felt like a blur. Claire worked harder than she ever had. Early mornings, late nights, measuring, mixing, frosting. The commercial kitchen became her sanctuary. The big corporate event loomed, and Jenna checked in often. "You okay handling this, Claire?" she asked over the phone. Claire stared at the rows of cupcakes she'd already completed. "Yeah, actually, I think I am." For the first time in her life, Claire felt powerful. She didn't need permission, approval, or, God forbid, Ryan. Ryan, meanwhile, spiraled. He had no job, no prospects, and, worst of all, no control. Claire didn't ask how he was. Didn't beg him to stay. Didn't even argue. It made him sick. Scrolling through her business page one night, he saw the post about the corporate event. Sweet Haven. 200 cupcakes. Sponsored by the Mayers Group. His jaw clenched. Rachel Mayers. Of course, it came back to her. He made a decision. Stupid, reckless. But his pride wouldn't let him stop. The next morning, Ryan showed up at the commercial kitchen. Claire turned pale the moment she saw him through the glass. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice low. Ryan smirked. "Just came to see the empire." Claire crossed her arms. Get out. Relax, he sneered. I just wanted to remind you, you're still married to me. Whatever you make, technically, it's mine. Claire stared at him. You think that scares me? It should. Ryan leaned closer, dropping his voice. Funny thing about health inspections, takes just one call. Claire's blood turned cold. He smirked. You think you can walk away from me? Build this dream without me? Not a chance, sweetheart. That night, shaken, Claire called Rachel. Ryan threatened me, she whispered. I don't know what to do. Rachel was silent for a beat. Then, Claire, you're stronger than you think. But you need protection. Claire laughed bitterly. From my own husband. Rachel's voice hardened. Then get ready. Because if he starts this fight, we finish it. The morning of the corporate event, Claire arrived at the venue early. Everything was perfect. 200 shimmering cupcakes, gold-dusted, flawless. And standing at the edge of the room was Ryan. Claire's chest tightened. You need to leave. Ryan shrugged. Just wanted to see the show. Rachel appeared then, sharp as glass. Ryan, darling. So glad you're here. Ryan blinked. What? Rachel smiled, teeth flashing. Because now you can watch your wife become the most sought-after baker in this city, while you stand there, unemployed. Ryan's face went crimson. The event was a massive success. Guests raved. Photos snapped. Jenna hugged Claire so hard she nearly dropped the last tray. You did it, Jenna whispered. You really did. Claire stood in the middle of the glittering venue, tears in her eyes, and finally, felt it. She was free. The corporate event was barely over when the offers started pouring in. Jenna cornered Claire the next morning, practically vibrating with excitement. You won't believe this. The Mayor's Group wants you full-time for their events. That's 5 figures a month, Claire. Claire blinked. What? Are you serious? Rachel grinned. Told you. People love an underdog, especially one who can thrust a cupcake like that. Claire laughed, a full, rich sound that surprised even herself. For the first time, the weight on her chest was gone. While Claire's phone buzzed with new orders, Ryan's world shrank. His severance ran out faster than he expected. Mark stopped taking his calls. Even his parents, tired of his sulking, told him to man up. He returned home one evening to find a notice taped to the door. Final warning, mortgage in default. Ryan's knees buckled. Claire walked past him carrying groceries, flour, eggs, sugar, her head held high. Ryan sneered. Must be nice, huh? Playing boss while your family falls apart. Claire's gaze was calm. You made your choices, Ryan. I'm just surviving mine. The next morning, Claire met Rachel and Jenna at a new location, a small but charming storefront downtown. It's yours, Rachel said simply. I pulled some strings. Low rent. You're ready. Claire stared at the space, overwhelmed. I can't. You can, Rachel interrupted. You need to. Tears spilled down Claire's cheeks. Why are you helping me? Rachel smiled. Because I was you once. And no one helped me. It's your turn now. When Ryan heard about the store, he lost it. You're taking MY kid and MY name and building this empire, he raged, cornering Claire in the kitchen. Claire's hands didn't shake. I'm taking what's mine, my life. You'll regret this, Ryan hissed. I'll drag you down with me. Claire smiled, cold, victorious. You can try. Ryan's threats didn't stop the world from turning. By the grand opening, Sweet Haven was the talk of the town. Lines formed around the block. Influencers posted. Rachel hugged Claire so tightly she laughed through her tears. And MIA, sweet, bright MIA, wore a little apron that read, Assistant Baker. Ryan showed up once, drunk, shouting. But security, hired by Rachel, escorted him off the premises like the ghost he'd become. A week later, Ryan came by, defeated. Claire, I need help. Claire looked at him, really looked, and felt nothing. You taught me something, she said softly. Some people drown because they jump, some because they are pushed. But you held your own head underwater. his eyes filled with tears. Please. Claire shook her head. I'm done saving you, Ryan. I have MIA. I have Sweet Haven. And for the first time, I have me. Months passed. Sweet Haven thrived. Claire was featured in magazines. She opened a second location. MIA flourished, happy and safe. And Ryan? No one knew. No one asked. One evening, Claire stood outside her shop, watching the sunset, the same way she had the night Ryan walked out. Only now, she smiled. Because she had built this. She had survived. And she was never going back. 6 months. That's how long it had been since Claire last saw Ryan, drunk, desperate, clawing for the life he let slip away. And in those 6 months, Claire became someone she barely recognized. Sweet Haven expanded faster than she dreamed. The second location opened downtown, brighter, busier, with floor-to-ceiling windows and lines out the door. Every morning smelled of butter, cinnamon, and quiet triumph. People whispered about her now. That's Claire, the baker who came out of nowhere, but no one knew the truth. No one knew the hell she clawed her way out of. Except Rachel. One crisp spring morning, Claire stood outside her bakery, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. Mia's laughter rang out from inside. Rachel had taught her how to swirl frosting perfectly, and now the girl insisted on helping every Saturday. Claire smiled, breathing in the moment. No fear. No threats. Just peace. Claire Hayes, a warm voice interrupted. She turned and nearly spilled her coffee. A man stood there, tall, clean-cut, with kind eyes and a crooked smile. Handsome in that effortless way that made her stomach flutter. Yes, she asked cautiously. He extended a hand. Ethan Walker. My company owns the building next door. I've been meaning to stop by. I've heard your cupcakes are dangerous. Claire blinked, then laughed, the sound surprising even herself. Dangerous? Only if you eat 6. Ethan grinned. Challenge accepted. They stood awkwardly for a moment, Claire unused to this. A man smiling at her like she wasn't invisible. I actually wanted to talk business, Ethan added. We host a lot of client events. I'm tired of stale cookies. Think Sweet Haven can handle it. Claire's heart skipped. Sure. Absolutely. Ethan's smile softened. Great. Let's set up a tasting? I'll swing by Monday. As he walked away, Claire stared after him, heart pounding. Rachel appeared beside her, smirking. Well, look at you, blushing over a handsome man. Claire laughed. I am not. Rachel just winked. It's okay, sweetheart. Glow-ups come with options. That night, Claire sat on her balcony, staring at the city lights. She thought about Ryan, somewhere out there, forgotten. And then she thought about Ethan, and the way his smile made her feel seen. For the first time in a long, long while, Claire didn't feel broken. She felt ready. Monday came too fast. Claire barely slept, her mind spinning with thoughts of Ethan Walker and the fact she agreed to a tasting like a real businesswoman. Not a scared housewife, not anymore. The bell chimed just as she wiped her hands on her apron. Ethan walked in, charcoal suit, sleeves rolled up, that easy grin. Hope I'm not early. Rachel, behind the counter, smirked. Right on time, Mr. Tall, dark and handsome. Ethan laughed. I like her. Claire flushed. She's trouble. Trouble's good, Ethan said, eyes lingering, soft, curious. Claire laid out the cupcakes carefully, double chocolate, lavender honey, and red velvet with cream cheese swirls. Ethan took a bite of the lavender one, his brows lifting. Wow, I wasn't ready for that. Too much? Claire asked nervously. He shook his head. No, it's perfect. Sophisticated, unexpected, kinda like you. Claire blinked. Me? Ethan grinned. Yeah. You walk past a bakery like this, you expect basics. Not this. He pointed his fork. You're not what people expect. She didn't know whether to be flattered or terrified. Later that week, as Claire locked up, Rachel appeared, face tight. You're not gonna like this. What? Ryan. He came by. Left this. She handed Claire a crumpled note. We need to talk. You owe me. Claire's stomach turned. I don't owe him anything. Rachel sighed. I know. But he's desperate. You ready if he pushes? Claire's eyes burned. Let him try. The next morning, Claire met Ethan for coffee. Business, she told herself. So, this might sound forward, Ethan started, but I Googled you. Claire stiffened. Not in a creepy way, he rushed. I just wanted to know who I'm working with. Claire forced a smile. Find anything good? Yeah, Ethan said softly. A woman who built something from nothing, while her ex tried to tear her down. Claire's eyes snapped up. What? Ethan shrugged. Small town, Claire. People talk. Claire swallowed hard. And? Ethan leaned in, voice gentle. Anne, I think you're the bravest person I've ever met. That night, Ryan showed up again, drunk, ugly. I made you, he slurred. You owe me. Claire stood firm. You made me small. You don't get to rewrite that. Ryan sneered. You think that new guy will save you? He'll leave. They always do. Claire smiled. Calm, powerful. I don't need saving, Ryan. I saved myself. Later, as Ethan walked Claire home, he paused. I'm not here to save you, he said. But if you ever need someone, I'm not going anywhere. Claire's chest ached, not with pain, but with something terrifyingly close to hope. I'd like that, she whispered. The following week, Claire's world officially shifted. Jenna stormed into Sweet Haven, breathless. Claire, you need to sit down. I'm busy. Jenna shoved her phone at her. The Morning Brew wants to feature you. Live. Prime time. Full segment. Local woman builds bakery empire after toxic marriage. Claire's mouth dropped open. No. Yes, Jenna grinned. They're calling you a symbol of starting over. A phoenix. They even asked if you'd talk about him. Claire stiffened. Ryan. Jenna nodded. It's your call. But Claire, this could make you untouchable. That night, Claire told Ethan everything about the feature, the offer, the risk. I don't want it to be about him, she whispered. I want it to be about me. Ethan took her hands. Then make it about you. You get to decide how this ends. Claire swallowed hard. He's going to hate it. Ethan's jaw clenched. Let him. The world deserves to know who really built this. Meanwhile, Ryan spiraled. His eviction notice became final. The bar cut off his tab. Even his parents stopped answering his calls. Drunk and bitter, Ryan stared at the TV as the Morning Brew teaser aired. Coming this Friday, Sweet Haven's Claire Hayes. Her cupcakes aren't the only thing getting attention. Her story will inspire you. Ryan screamed, smashing the bottle against the wall. Friday arrived, and Claire stood in the bright studio lights, hands trembling. The host smiled warmly. Claire, your story is remarkable. Abandoned, belittled, but you rose. What kept you going? Claire blinked, then smiled. My daughter, and a promise I made to myself. That no one would ever dim my light again. The host leaned in. Any regrets? Claire exhaled. Only that I didn't leave sooner. The audience erupted in applause. Ryan watched from a bar stool, pale and shaking. No one offered him a seat. No one cared. Claire's face beamed from the screen, strong, beautiful, free. And for the first time, Ryan understood. He was nothing but a footnote in her story. That night, Ethan waited for Claire outside the studio, holding a single white rose. You were incredible, he whispered. Claire melted. You stayed. Ethan smiled. Told you. I'm not going anywhere. She threw her arms around him, burying her face in his neck. I think I'm finally free. You are, Ethan murmured. And now, it's just us. Months passed. Sweet Haven became a staple. Claire was invited to every event, every show. Ryan disappeared, a whisper, a shadow, while Claire, MIA, and Ethan built a life. One night, under the soft glow of the bakery's lights, Ethan knelt. You saved yourself, Claire. But if you'll let me, I'd like to stand beside you for whatever comes next. Claire's breath caught, but this time, there was no fear. Only love. And she said, Through tears and laughter, yes. 6 months later, Sweet Haven was no longer just a local darling, it was national. The Morning Brew segment had gone viral, and now Claire found herself staring at an email she never expected. We'd love to fly you to New York. Sweet Haven, and your story, is exactly what the National Food and Lifestyle Expo is looking for. Claire's fingers trembled. New York. An international food stage. Rachel whistled over her shoulder. That's it. You've officially made it, Claire. Ethan was proud, no question. But as he watched Claire pack for New York, something tugged at him. She was shining, and he couldn't help wondering if there was still room for him in that bright, new world. You okay? Claire asked, pausing. Ethan forced a smile. Yeah, just don't forget us little people when you're famous. Claire cupped his face. There is no me without you. You know that, right? He nodded, but deep down, the doubt had already planted itself. New York was everything they promised, glittering, overwhelming, full of opportunity and threats. The first person Claire met was Gavin Cross, a tall, sleek businessman who reeked of wealth and power. I watched your interview, he said, shaking Claire's hand. You're special. Women like you, the world needs more of. Claire flushed. Thank you. Gavin's eyes sparkled. I could make you bigger than Sweet Haven. Ever thought of franchising? Claire blinked. Franchising? Yes, he smiled. National. Global. Back home, Ethan tried to act supportive. But when Claire called, breathless about Gavin's offer, his gut twisted. Sounds amazing, Ethan said carefully. Claire picked up the hesitation. You don't sound thrilled. I am, he lied. I just don't want you to forget what made Sweet Haven special, that's all. Claire paused. I won't. But the call ended colder than it started. One night, MIA climbed into Ethan's lap. Daddy Ethan, when Mummy's super famous, will she still bake with me? The words hit harder than any punch. Ethan forced a smile. Of course she will, baby. But inside, fear gnawed. What if she doesn't? In New York, Claire sat in her hotel suite, staring out at the skyline. Gavin's words echoed, franchising. Millions. You deserve it. But so did Ethan, and MIA, and the quiet life she fought so hard to build. For the first time, Claire realized success wasn't the end of the story. It was just another fork in the road. 2 days passed with Ethan barely hearing from Claire. Texts became shorter. Calls missed. By the third night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Rachel finally said what he feared. She's not cheating, Ethan. But this city, this dream, it changes people. You should be there. Ethan booked the flight without another word. Claire was in the middle of Gavin's sleek pitch, PowerPoints, growth charts, global numbers, when she spotted Ethan through the glass. Her heart stuttered. Ethan, she gasped. Gavin arched a brow. Boyfriend. Claire nodded, breathless. Yeah, he's not supposed to be here. Ethan stepped in, calm but unreadable. Sorry to crash. Heard my girl was making million-dollar decisions without me. Gavin smirked. We were just talking growth, Mr. Walker, Ethan said. And growth's great, unless it costs everything. That night, Claire cornered Ethan outside the hotel. Why are you really here? She whispered. Ethan exhaled. Because I can feel it, Claire. I'm losing you. Her throat tightened. No, you're not. He shook his head. You light up here. And I'm scared. Scared you'll look around and realize you don't need us. Not me. Not M.A. Claire's eyes filled. How can you say that? You're my anchor, Ethan. Then why does it feel like I'm already drifting? Ethan's voice cracked. The next day, Gavin found Claire alone. You love him, I get it. But love won't grow Sweet Haven. I will. You're a star, Claire. Don't dim it. Claire stared at him. And if I lose everything else? Gavin's grin was shark-like. Isn't this what you dreamed of? That night, Claire found Ethan packing. I won't fight you for your dreams, he said quietly. If this is your world now, I'll let you have it. Claire's heart shattered. Ethan. No, he whispered. I love you, Claire. That's why I'm walking away. if it means you get everything you worked for. Left alone, Claire stared at the franchise contract. Mia's picture, taped to her wallet, smiled back. "Mommy, will you still bake with me?" Claire closed her eyes and tore the contract in half. At dawn, Claire found Ethan at the airport. "Don't get on that plane," she gasped, breathless. "I choose us. I choose MA. I choose what we built. Gavin can have his millions. I have everything I need right here." Ethan's eyes shone. "Are you sure?" Claire laughed through tears. "I've never been more sure." Claire called Gavin first. "I'm pulling out," she said, voice steady. Gavin's laughter was cold. "You're making the biggest mistake of your life." "Maybe," Claire replied. "But it's my life." Gavin's voice turned sharp. "You'll regret this, Claire. Women like you don't get second chances. When the world forgets you, don't come crawling back." Claire hung up without another word, heart pounding, but free. Claire returned to Sweet Haven with Ethan and MIA, the smell of vanilla and home wrapping around her. Rachel greeted them with tears. "You walked away from millions, for this." Claire smiled softly. "For us. For what matters." That night, she made cupcakes with MIA, flour everywhere, giggles echoing. "Mommy," MIA whispered, "you're the best baker in the world." Claire hugged her tight. "That's all the award I need." Later, under the warm kitchen lights, Ethan took Claire's hands. "I still can't believe you picked this, us, over everything," he whispered. Claire smiled through tears. "You don't get it, Ethan. I picked myself. And somehow, that includes you." He kissed her, slow, deep, full of promise. "I love you, Claire Hayes." She whispered against his lips, "I love you more." Weeks later, Claire hosted a charity bake-off. Local kids, parents, and small-town faces packed the bakery. Reporters still came, curious about the woman who walked away from millions. "What's next for Sweet Haven?" one asked. Claire smiled. "This. Community. Heart. That's success. Not money." The crowd cheered. MIA beamed. And Ethan watched the woman he loved glow brighter than any city light. 2 months later, Claire stood in front of a packed town hall. The mayor beamed. "This year's Heart of the Community Award goes to Claire Hayes of Sweet Haven Bakery." Cheers erupted. MIA clapped wildly. Ethan whistled. Rachel sobbed openly. Claire stepped up, voice trembling. "I left once. I thought I had to chase something bigger. But I learned. This is big. This is everything." The ovation shook the room. After the ceremony, Claire stepped outside for air, only to find Ryan. Pale. Defeated. A ghost of the man he once was. "Claire," he rasped. I saw everything." Claire stiffened. "What do you want?" Ryan shook his head. "Nothing. I get it now. You never needed me." She nodded slowly. "No, I didn't." Ryan swallowed hard. "I'm leaving town. For good." Claire didn't gloat. She simply whispered, "Goodbye, Ryan." It was over. For real. That night, as twilight settled over the town, Ethan led Claire back to the bakery. Candles flickered. MIA waited inside, grinning. Ethan cleared his throat. "Claire Hayes. I don't have millions. I don't have fancy contracts." He pulled out a simple ring, delicate, perfect. "But I have this, a promise. To love you. To fight for us. To build a life with you. Flour, sugar, chaos, all of it." Tears streamed down Claire's cheeks. "Yes, yes, Ethan. 1,000 times, yes." MIA squealed, "Are we getting married?" Ethan laughed. "Yeah, kiddo. We are." 1 year later, Sweet Haven wasn't a franchise. It wasn't global. But it was thriving. MIA helped frost cupcakes. Ethan manned the register. Claire baked, humming, happy. No paparazzi. No contracts. Just love. Laughter. Home. And on the wall, their Heart of the Community Award hung proudly, a reminder that sometimes, walking away from the world, meant finding your own. A year after the proposal, the wedding was small, just as Claire dreamed. Barefoot in the garden behind Sweet Haven, MIA tossing petals, Ethan waiting with tears in his eyes. I've waited my whole life to belong somewhere, Claire whispered as they exchanged vows. I just didn't know it was here, with you. Ethan's voice broke. I found my home in you. Life settled. Sweet Haven grew, not into a chain, but a beloved landmark. MIA thrived, baking beside Claire every weekend. Ethan launched a small carpentry business, finally following his own dream. Nights were spent on the porch, wine, laughter, quiet love. For once, Claire felt safe. Until the letter arrived. A legal envelope. No return address. Claire opened it with trembling hands. Inside, notice of pending lawsuit, breach of verbal contract. Plaintiff, Gavin Cross. Ethan cursed. He's trying to drag you back. Claire slumped. I didn't sign anything. Ethan's jaw clenched. Verbal deals, they're messy. But we'll fight. Gavin's lawsuit hit the papers. Local baker betrays billionaire backer. Sweet Haven secrets, what did Claire promise? Business dipped. Rumors spread. Rachel stood firm. We've beaten Weiss. But Claire saw the fear in Mia's eyes. Mommy, did you do something bad? No, baby. Some people just don't like losing. One night, Ethan exploded. Why can't he let us live, Claire? We didn't ask for this. Claire stared at the ceiling. Because winning wasn't enough. Gavin wants me to break. Ethan grabbed her hands. Then we don't break. We fight. The day of the hearing, Claire sat rigid at the defendant's table. Ethan squeezed her hand. I'm right here. Gavin smirked across the room, expensive suit pristine. I'll bury you, he mouthed. The judge called order. Mr. Cross, present your case. Gavin stood. Your Honor, Ms. Hayes verbally agreed to a franchise deal. I invested time, resources, then she walked away. That cost me millions. Claire's attorney stood. There was no written contract. No funds exchanged. This is bitterness, not breach. Claire was called. Hands shaking, she took the stand. Ms. Hayes, Gavin's lawyer sneered. Did you tell Mr. Cross you were considering franchising? Yes, Claire whispered. But I never signed. I never accepted a dime. The lawyer pressed. You entertained the idea, went to meetings. Doesn't that imply agreement? Claire's voice rose, steady. No, it means I dreamed, until I realized it wasn't my dream. The courtroom murmured. Ethan's eyes shone with pride. Finally, the judge asked, Mr. Cross, did you offer any written contract? Gavin hesitated. No, but... And did you invest any funds? No. The judge's gavel banged. Sounds more like a bruised ego than a lawsuit. Gavin snapped. She humiliated me. The judge stared him down. Not the court's problem. Outside, reporters swarmed. Claire ignored them all, except Ethan's hand pulling her close. You did it, he whispered. Claire smiled weakly. We did it. Gavin watched from afar, furious, defeated. His final words caught on the wind. This isn't over. Claire just smiled. Oh, it is. Weeks later, the bakery buzzed again. Customers returned. The town stood by her. MIA placed a drawing on the bakery wall, a family, holding hands. Mommy's Bakery, our home. Ethan kissed Claire's temple. No one takes this from us. Claire nodded. No one ever will. 5 years later, the bakery bustled, more than ever. Locals packed in, kids raced around frosting-stained tables, and the smell of vanilla hung in the air. Rachel clapped her hands. Can we just take a moment? 5 years ago, you were the woman they all whispered about. Now, you're the pride of this town. Claire smiled. We did this. MIA, now 10, hugged Claire. Mommy, this is my favorite place in the whole world. Ethan pulled Rachel aside. It's time. Rachel grinned. She's gonna cry. The sun began to set. Ethan took the mic. Everyone, I've got one more thing before we wrap up. Claire blinked as Ethan turned to her. Claire Hayes. Claire Walker now. 5 years ago, you saved yourself. You built all of this. And every day since, you've made this home, for me, for MIA, for all of us. Murmurs filled the air. Ethan pulled a ring from his pocket. Simple, beautiful. You said yes once. But I want to ask again. Here, where it all started. Will you marry me again? Not because we have to, but because there's no one else I want beside me. Tears streamed down Claire's cheeks. Yes. Ethan, yes. The crowd erupted in cheers as Ethan slipped the ring on her finger. That night, under the fairy lights, Claire looked out at the town. Gavin was gone. Ryan was a ghost from another life. The lawsuits, the battles, the pain, all gone. Only love remained. Ethan kissed her softly. Do you believe it now? That you're home? Claire smiled. I do. I've never been more home in my life. MIA raced over, laughing. Come dance with me. Claire and Ethan danced in the middle of Sweet Haven, with MIA spinning between them, the bakery glowing around them. And for the first time, Claire realized it wasn't just a happy ending. It was a beautiful beginning. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, kindly hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating tales. I'd love to hear from you. What stood out to you, or what lesson did you take away from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, see you in the next story. With love, ZUBE.